Hi, welcome to Project Elivate, where we will discuss all things related to health, hormones, aesthetics, and longevity. The topics discussed are the opinions of Olivia Stivers, nurse practitioner. They are not intended to diagnose or to treat any conditions. If you have any questions regarding your personal health, please talk to your personal healthcare provider or see us at Elivate Wellness. Now let's get to the show. Our episode number 10, and our focus today is going to be on birth control. So this might be a little bit controversial, but it's not meant to be at all. We are not, again, we don't demonize anything. We're just going to hit you with the facts, Jack, and how this impacts how we decide to come up with a treatment plan for our patients or whether or not, when to check labs, all those things. So anyway, but before we do that, how's your morning started?
I'm all right. I think she's done realize I'm a little jacked on caffeine.
Oh, well, I guess we both kind of are. I had 2 shots of espresso this morning, so.
I don't like coffee, man. I wish I did. I can't do it. But I'm already going to do my legs later. I'm dressed for success.
Me too. I should have gotten up this morning to work out, but I neglected to, so then I got to.
I like this little hoodie thing.
Thanks. This is Gymshark.
Yeah.
These pants are Gymshark. I don't usually spend that kind of money on clothes, but every now and then.
Yeah. I think we talked about this. I ain't never owned nothing. I ain't own them. I own them. Your neighbor friendly provider. Okay. I do not own any Gymshark or Lululemon, or Fabletics or any of that. I thought about trying them.
So my 2 favorite, honestly, are going to be Gymshark and then Violate the Dress Code. Those are my 2 favorite. Yep. And I've had pants from Violate the Dress Code for years.
Really?
Yep, they'll last forever. Yep. So I'll pay the money if they're going to last.
I want to try Buff Bunny too. That's another one I watch all the time. I just like their colorways. They got really good, it's very earthy, neutral aesthetic.
Yeah, that's me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so before we dive into birth control, I think it would be a good place to start to explain the menstrual cycle first. Because I think a lot of times whenever we sit down with patients, young patients, older patients, whatever, we talk about the menstrual cycle and what happens during it. And a lot of times people think, well, I'm having we'll say, are you having regular menstrual cycles? Yes. Okay. And they'll back that up by saying, well, I'm on birth control. Mm. So we're going to dive into why that's not correct. It's not a true menstrual cycle when you're on birth control. But let's bring out...
We're going back old school, guys.
Yeah, we've become little artists today. Oh, shoot. What did I do with my markers? Did I get those?
Oh, no. Marker down.
What did I do with those?
Oh, no. Marker down. Pause. Hold still.
Our handy cameraman
is going to go grab our markers. How y'all doing out there today?
Was I not supposed to say that?
Mother it is.
Where are
they should be right there.
I need...
There you go.
Yeah.
Give us a... Yep.
Woo!
Give us the pack.
All right.
Pull them out.
Orange, purple, green.
Oh, she's getting colorful Crayola.
And blue. We got to do this.
Okay. All the colors. Okay.
So I'm going to illustrate this the best that I can. And so to start, we're going to start with this graph. Menstrual cycle explained. So for today's purposes, we're focusing on a 28-day cycle. I understand that some people have maybe a 30 or 32. 28 days is what we're going to do, so it's just easy today. So we have 0 to 28. This is our time frame. You can see this line right here in the middle. This is day 14. This is when ovulation will always occur 14 days before you start bleeding. This is always the case. If you have ovulatory cycles, let me just go ahead and say that too. So we're going to divide the menstrual cycle into 2 phases. The first phase is going to be what's called the follicular phase. The second phase is going to be called the luteal phase. Follicular phase is day 0 to 14. Oh, this way?
Hold it this way.
Okay.
I got you.
Okay. Oh, this is easier for me anyway. Okay, so follicular phase is day 0 to 14. Luteal phase is typically going to be 14 to 28. So beyond the follicular and luteal phases, these can be subdivided into 2 more here. On the follicular side, 0 to 7 days is considered that period. This is when we bleed. So day 1 is the first day of bleeding on your menstrual cycle, okay? Day 1 typically to day 7, 5, 4, whatever it is. Okay. Days 7 to 14, this is what we call the proliferative phase. So you've now shed the lining here with your period. Now you're going to build it back up and prepare yourself to become pregnant. After ovulation, then you have this secretory phase right here. Okay, So now let's talk about the hormones that are involved in the menstrual cycle. I want to point out our sex hormones that we focus on are going to be your progesterone, testosterone, and estradiol. For the menstrual cycle, testosterone is the most abundant female hormone in the body. It is the most abundant female hormone. However, it does not impact the menstrual cycle. So for today, we're focusing on estradiol and progesterone. Estradiol is predominant in the first half of the cycle. Progesterone is predominant in the second half of the cycle. In order to get our bodies to secrete estradiol, we have other secreting hormones or like stimulating hormones. So then we've got follicular stimulating hormone, which is called FSH. This is secreted from a gland in our brain called the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus comes up, follicle stimulating hormone kind of starts right here at the beginning. Well, let me start this. It will start to kind of climb a little bit here. Right before ovulation, it'll kind of peak and then drop off all the way through. Okay. That's not the prettiest line, but it's okay. Then, so it's telling your ovaries, hey, produce these follicles, get an egg ready, mature it, get it ready for ovulation. While that's happening, estradiol is also being secreted. Estradiol, think of it as like your mother hen. It's going around, it's fluffing things. It's like getting the home ready. You know what I mean? Sometimes she can be a little bit overbearing, and that's when we have estrogen dominance. But estradiol is important. So estradiol will come in. Again, it's climbing. Right before ovulation, you get this big estrogen's peak, and then it kind of drops off a little bit days 14 through 28. So there's estradiol. Estradiol is important, and we don't want to suppress this because it does help maintain our brain health, our bone health, our heart health, our breast health in healthy amounts, and if we make enough progesterone. So now let's talk about the second half of the cycle, your luteal phase, aka secretory phase. So now estrogen has dropped off. FSH has dropped off. FSH has dropped off. LH, it's their time to shine. So luteinizing hormone is LH. So LH is here. We'll start. Boop, 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 boop. It's coming in. Okay, LH is starting to climb up right through here and kind of drops off the rest of the time. So it is stimulating your body luteinizing hormone. It's like, okay, now it's time to ovulate. Boom, let's start producing progesterone so we can maintain the uterine lining that we built up with estrogen. Now we're going to get progesterone to come in. Luteinizing hormone.
Say it 5 times fast.
Yeah, luteinizing hormone will stimulate, say, it signals, okay, start making progesterone. Progesterone comes in to increase the blood flow and nutrients that's going to be supplied to the uterus. This is why women who have a luteal phase deficiency or say they're low in progesterone, a lot of times when they're trying to get pregnant, they'll give progesterone to help support the lining of the uterus. It doesn't help it grow more. It's just giving more blood flow, more nutrients to the lining of the uterus. So then here comes progesterone, which is my favorite hormone. Well, I don't know, testosterone and progesterone. Okay, so progesterone's here, still present here. Boom, boom, boom. We're post-ovulation. You produce your egg. Your egg is released from the ovary. When it's expelled, you produce this little thing called the corpus luteum. This little guy is the star of the show. You have to ovulate to produce progesterone. This corpus luteum has to be present to make progesterone. So, corpus luteum comes up. Boop, here comes our progesterone. Up, and then down on day 28. If you are listening to this in your car, I know that that's a whole lot. I would encourage you, we have a YouTube video, we have this little illustration here. Please go back and look at this and watch this as many times as you want. Ask us questions because I know that this is a lot, but we have to understand this before we can understand how birth control can affect this normal cycle. Okay. Do I need to add anything to that, Marissa?
I think you covered it.
Okay. Progesterone is important too in the second half because progesterone is really our feel-good hormone. When we talk about anxiety, disturbances in sleep, progesterone is really important. It's a natural anti-anxiety. It's a natural antidepressant. It helps induce that good natural deep sleep. So if we're suppressing these things, you can see where someone would have symptoms of anxiety, depression, insomnia. If we're suppressing estradiol, you can see where people would actually have vaginal dryness, decreased libido, their bone health, their brain health, all those things are going to take
I tell people it's a checks and balances situation. You need both homogeneously in order to work appropriately. You don't want anything being surpassing the other. Even after in our postmenopausal women, we replace both. It's not just one way or the other. You need all of your hormones.
So let's talk about, first off, why do we I don't want to say because we really try to avoid it if we can, but why is birth control so commonly prescribed? I would say number one, obviously, the birth control. Okay, so we're going to prevent pregnancy, unintended pregnancy.
Which has its time and its place.
Yeah. So the second thing that I would say people suffer with PMS, horrible menstrual cycles, like as far as like the bleeding part, heavy bleeding, painful breasts, bloating, mood disorder. So birth control will suppress this fluctuation and falsely give people this idea that we're improving the problem that's causing the symptoms. Okay. The other thing, I think people are put on birth control for acne. So a lot of times they'll say, well, I have this horrible hormonal acne. A lot of times if you ask them, okay, when do you feel like your acne is the worst? A lot of times it's in this luteal phase because they are estrogen dominant, meaning they do not make enough of the progesterone to keep up with the amount of estrogen that they make. It's not that they make too much estrogen and the estrogen's the enemy. They just are not making enough progesterone. So in that case, instead of doing like a birth control, maybe our better option would be, okay, let's support our detox pathways. Let's look at our nutrition, see if we can balance out our protein and our fiber. Let's get some activity. Let's help with the insulin resistance that you may be encountering. That's more likely causing the problem. So let's talk about types of birth control.
There you go.
And I won't dive into like necessarily, I guess we could talk about how they work, but
I mean, I would just do like the types there are, obviously. Like you got
you have hormonal and non-hormonal.
Yeah, you got those two major classifications, and you have different modalities that you can get those hormonal or non-hormonal situations. So you have an implant, which is something that is placed for long term.
Yeah, so hormonal birth controls, implant. So there's two. You talking about the Nexplanon?
There's two.
Okay.
There's two. Yeah.
Yep. So Nexplanon.
Yeah.
IUDs.
Yeah. Which I was thinking of non-hormonal implant is like a copper.
Copper IUD.
Yes.
Is a
non-hormonal.
Yeah.
And then you move on to things like you have your injectable, like a depot shot. Then we have a little farther down the tier, you have things like your ring, your vaginal ring, your spermicides, your diaphragms.
Well, before, because those are definitely contraceptives.
Yeah.
But as far as like what's going to affect these with the hormonal side, you have your combined oral contraceptives, the mini pill, which is a progestin only.
Yeah. Or an actual birth control pill.
Yep. And that's going to be your combined oral contraceptive. The Nuva ring we talked about, which is a dual agonist or estrogen and progestin combined. That's going to be intravaginally. And the patch,
It's been so long.
I know. I was going through some of these and I'm like, man.
I haven't heard of a patch in forever.
Typically what we see in practice is going to be like an IUD or a combined oral contraceptive most often.
Yeah.
So the copper IUD we mentioned is a non-hormonal. If someone was adamant about birth control, a copper IUD would probably be the one that I would be more inclined to promote.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it doesn't come with risk, because a copper IUD, it can still cause bleeding. It can still cause pain.
Can implant.
Yes. The copper, there's been studies, I wrote this down, the copper can exacerbate symptoms of estrogen dominance such as headaches, PMS, heavy bleeding, bloating, acne, etc. So again, if we're not attacking the estrogen dominance issue first and foremost through lifestyle modifications, then we're just masking things.
You're putting a Band-Aid on a boat, on a leak boat.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so going back to birth control, let's focus on the combined oral contraceptive since that's what we see the most.
Okay.
So it's a progestin, which is not progesterone.
Yes.
And an estrogen together. And so you're getting little micro doses of both of these hormones together throughout the whole 21 days. Yeah. And then you have a 7-day period where you're taking like this placebo pill or like a sugar pill. And that's when you are not getting any hormone at all. And you actually have what's called a withdrawal bleed. when we talked earlier, this is why this is not a true period. You've not done anything as far as like releasing an egg. You didn't ovulate. You're just simply coming off the hormones. You're shedding that uterine lining. That's a protective mechanism just so you don't over proliferate the uterus. And then you go on with your next pill pack.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
You're tricking your mind there.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah,
You're trying
you
to
really
trick your
are.
mind.
Yeah. Okay. Risk associated with birth control.
Yeah. Oh, man. All the
Okay.
things. Select all apply.
Yes. We talked about anxiety, depression. This is due to decreased levels of natural circulating progesterone.
Oh, okay. We're going down that road. I was thinking like if like you were a smoker, blood clots,
Oh,
things like that.
yeah.
Those
Yeah.
two. Sorry. My brain went a different direction. But I
Yeah.
follow. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about that for just a minute because hormones in general, and this is where we can't group all hormones into one category saying that hormones are bad because they are not.
Yeah.
But when you are taking something like a progestin or an estrogen that's synthetic, you will metabolize this differently than you would something that is molecularly identical to what our bodies create.
Yes.
Okay, so that's when people, it's not the hormones that cause issues, it's the metabolic pathways our bodies tend to lean towards, and then some of the metabolites produced can cause
Those risk
undesirable
factors. Yeah,
effects.
those risk factors.
Still very decreased risk though, just
Yeah.
want to point that out. Okay, this is important.
Okay.
Elevated levels of sex hormone binding globulin. Marissa,
Oh, yeah.
on the next podcast, you're going to break down how to
Oh,
go
yeah.
over labs.
Yeah.
But before you even see a patient, before you read their history, present illness, and you're looking at, let's just say you're just looking at their labs.
Looking at them. Okay.
If you see someone with an elevated sex hormone binding globulin, what's the first thing you think about?
So, honestly, one of two things. If it's a woman, are you on birth control if you're appropriate age?
Yeah.
Or two, what's going on with our hormones? A period. Do we have enough supply demand? What's happening farther down the
Yeah.
chain?
I say if it's like a 20 to like middle-aged 40-year-old and their sex hormone binding globulin's elevated.
Or antidepressants.
Yeah.
Something else.
Yeah, antidepressants will raise that
Sorry,
up. You're
I'll
exactly
sneak
right.
that one in there too.
Yeah, you're right. So the first thing I'm thinking is birth control though, because you'll see this. So sex hormone binding globulin, this is important, and Marissa will dive into this on the next podcast. This is a protein and it floats around in our bloodstream and it kind of acts like a little train. And this train is going around to our free hormones and saying, hey, you hop on board. Hey, you hop on board. So it's binding or it's taking all of your hormones on this little black train that goes to nowhere. Okay. So in healthy amounts, it's okay to have that little balancer. But when you have too much of the sex hormone binding globulin, it leaves less free hormone available to go to our cells to do a job, such as build strong bones, which we'll talk about here in a minute, maintain lean muscle mass, help with our anxiety and our sleep, and keep healthy tissues. So we want to keep sex hormone binding globulin
Within appropriate
within a range. Yeah. But a lot of times it's up into like the way over 100s, and that's not balanced.
That's why you feel like bad. That's why you feel bad.
Okay. Now, there's also, I read this article, speaking of sex hormone binding globulin. This is from the Frontiers in Endocrinology, and this was published in 2020. So, this is an abstract. I'm talking about hormonal birth control, as we talked about how it can affect this elevated sex hormone binding globulin and its effect on binding our hormones, and so we can't really build up our build up our bones.
Yeah.
Okay, so hormonal contraception is prescribed commonly to adolescents for a myriad indications, from pregnancy prevention to treatment of acne, hirsutism, which is facial hair growth, dysmenorrhea, which is heavier, painful menstrual cycles. Although use of these hormones generally has no effect or benefits on bone health in mature premenopausal women, the same may not be true for adolescents. So, the teen years are a critical period for acquiring peak bone strength. Sex hormones, growth hormone, and insulin-like growth factors interact to modulate the changes in bone size, geometry, mineral content, and the microarchitecture that determine skeletal strength. Combined oral contraceptives and IM depot shots can compromise the expected gains in adolescence by altering estrogen and IGF, which is insulin-like growth factor, concentrations. Use of these medications has been associated with slower accrual of bone mineral density and increased fracture risk in some studies. Okay, so this is important because so often we prescribe these things and we're suppressing these hormones for a very young age. People are staying on them for years and years and years and years and years. They may come off of them, get pregnant, then they're back on it again,
Yeah.
and then boom, before you know it, we're perimenopausal, postmenopausal. So we've not given these people the benefit,
The opportunity.
the opportunity, yeah,
The opportunity.
to build healthy, strong
Yeah.
bodies. Okay. Anything else there?
Big facts.
This is intense, you all. I'm really sorry. Okay. So when we're talking about when we have patients come in to check their labs, how is this applicable to us? When you call our office, if you're a cycling woman,
Yes.
usually we'll say, are you having normal menstrual cycles? Yes. Are you on birth control? Yes. Okay. It's almost pointless for us to check your hormones at that point. And I'm saying this to be truthful, save you money, save you time. We would recommend that you come off of birth control for 2 months if you really want to have an idea of what's going on. Have 2 regular cycles and then come in and check your labs between days 18 through 21 if you're on a 28-day cycle. That catches you in that luteal phase. We can check to see if you're making enough progesterone that would balance out the estrogen that you have. Not always convenient, but that is truly, if we're going to get a really good idea.
If that's what you're actively seeking is hormonal understanding in yourself, you have to be off birth control.
Yeah.
I can, it's like throwing a shot in the air and hoping it lands somewhere. It's not going to do anything of anybody any good. If you want to know what your labs are doing just in general, of course you can still come in, but.
Exactly. And some people will still say, no, I still want to have an idea. But how many times do people come in with symptoms of like low hormone and we tell them like, hey, these symptoms may improve
if you come off of the birth control.
Yeah, come off of it. If you still have symptoms of estrogen dominance, okay, we can work on that.
And that's honestly, that is a known side effect of birth control, antidepressants, all those things, is decreased libido because they're fighting for the same lock and key. They all have a key to the same house and everybody's trying to get in.
And they're bound up.
Yep.
So, okay. Let's see. I think that was really all I had.
I think this is very educational. This is a lot, but honestly, at the same time, too, for those that's listening, for real, get on YouTube, look at this, watch it over and over and over again. I learn every day.
I do too. I do too. And please, please, please don't take this as I think everybody should just be ripped off their birth control. This is an individualized decision.
Yes.
We're just saying that if you're having these symptoms or if you're trying to come in to see us for something, we want us to truly evaluate.
Yes.
The birth control could be a hindrance.
You have to decide what's appropriate for you. Is it your mental health or is this something, absence of a child or being on birth control? Which one's your priority?
Yeah.
Whatever.
And I would argue, honestly, that if you understood what's going on in this menstrual cycle, you really understood your body, then you can
go ahead.
do the family planning method.
Yes.
Like you can avoid that fertile window. Be very careful if you're married and you're just not ready to have a baby or whatever it is.
Praise Jesus.
Yeah. You can avoid this.
You got to track it, just like your food. You got to track your cycle.
And your exercise, everything.
All of it.
Yeah.
But that's what I do.
Know your body.
I'm no longer on birth control. I decided we're going on what? How long have I been off birth control?
3 years and a half. Has it been
2 years?
2 years? Okay, yeah.
I've been off 2 years. 2 years. Going strong. Dear baby Jesus. But yeah.
And never had a scare.
No, amen. Hallelujah.
So anyway, okay. Well, hope this was educational. The next one, be ready because it's going to be educational as well
That's another
too.
one. Yeah, you're gonna hold on to your britches on that one.
Yeah. Okay, with or without it. What are you thinking? Or what are we thinking? Oh, text messages. Would you rather text or call somebody?
Listen, I like to hear people's voices on occasion, but I get a weird. Listen, I'm a little nervous Nancy too. I hate feeling like I'm kidnapped on my own phone.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about that yesterday when people video chat and call each other and then you're looking at the ceiling and they're screaming at their kids and I'm just like, can I hang up now?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm a texter a little bit because it gives me leniency, but every so often I can hear your voice, you know, just a reminder.
It depends for me. Yeah. Sometimes if it's something quick, I can just text it. But if we're trying to have a full-blown conversation, call me, please. Let's get this over with.
I feel like we play phone tag a lot, too.
Yeah.
Because the stuff we talk about, it's like, you'd be writing all day.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, all right. We'll catch y'all next time.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed our content, please comment, like, and share our show. To stay up to date with our practice, please visit our website at www.elevatewellness.com or to subscribe to our YouTube channel and be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Elivate Wellness LLC.